Thank you very much for joining me, panelists, for this discussion about comedy in Australia and festivals and Australian comedy festivals. And thank you very much for the support from the Australian High Commission for helping us put this together. I'm Tim Batt. I'm a comedian. I'm a podcast producer, and joining me today are comedian superstars Rhys Nicholson from Australia.
Hello.
Tessa Waters.
Hello.
Not Australian but still a comedy superstar, Eli Matthewson.
Thank you, hello.
And someone who I'm going to be sharing the microphone with, superstar comedy producer Sophie Dowson.
Hello.
Who I may accidentally refer to as Diesel Dog because we are old mates. So the first question that I've got, and Rhys, if you want to answer this first one to kick off.
Oh, shit.
Hey Rhys, what's so good about comedy festivals? Why do them at all?
If you've got a bit of money lying around, it's good to set it on fire. I think we had a big chat about this last night, but I think of them as like when you first start, they're like boot camp. Like you learn everything you need to know in the first few years, and it's like the first couple times is really hard sometimes. And I think every level, like I kind of started to do well in Australian comedy festivals, and then I went to Edinburgh. I was like, oh, that's right, I'm no one. But yeah, I think that I see them as boot camp. Like you never finish a festival and not be better, at least performing, than you were. And also it's like particular festivals like Melbourne Comedy Festival are like, it's a marketplace. And even if you don't make loads of money, it's like I was thinking of them as like craft markets.
Yeah.
And like people come and look at your stall.
Yeah.
And go like, oh, maybe I'll invest in this one day. Soap.
And you can get exposed to other people's
and you get
soap
exposed to
also.
other things. Like I've done 5 Edinburghs, and it's taken me that long. Now I've got an agent over there, and I can go over there for 3 months of the year and work. So yeah, I think they're really integral if you want like an international career of some sort. If you don't, fuck it.
Well, let me ask you, Tessa, do you think there's any reason to do comedy festivals, maybe if you're a Kiwi looking to do the Aussie ones, if you don't necessarily have a huge hunger for an international audience, but you just maybe want to be a better comedian?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like Rhys said, like the more flying hours you do, the better you'll get. And also you're in a bigger marketplace than hometown. So the Melbourne audiences are super different to Auckland and Wellington audiences. So that'll kind of test you in a different way. You'll also network with, there's like 600 shows in Melbourne Comedy Festival this year. So there's that many artists that you're going to network with and meet and maybe want to collaborate with, or just see loads of shows that inspire you to do other stuff. So yeah, like it's not necessarily just going over to kind of build your brand and get big, because also that's not guaranteed to happen in any way. Even for locals, it's like, but I think I think a good practice for any festival, be it at home or in Oz, is just to know why you're doing the season, like what you want to get out of it. Like have 3, top things that you want to get out of it. Might be like, getting agents to come and see you, or getting your favorite comedians to come and see you, or just to do a season and like prove to yourself that you can do that and you can exist in that international space. And
Eli's a Kiwi comedian who's gone over to the Aussie Fest for a few years. Is there any other stuff not mentioned that you kind of get out of doing festivals?
Those things, for me the most beneficial thing is just running a show, especially compared to New Zealand where you can do a festival and maximum do 5 or 6 shows. Doing the Melbourne run and doing 22 shows to people who don't know who you are or give a fuck who you are is like the best training to become a good comedian, I think.
Yeah.
Like to be able to win over people who are, and in Melbourne they're a very comedy educated crowd who are like they know what's good, they know what's going to impress them, and they'll decide pretty quick. So that training is really good.
And Sophie Dowson, as a producer who maybe looks over people's more like career trajectory and arc and stuff, what do you think is important about doing fests?
I think it's pretty similar to what you guys have all said. I think it's a great opportunity that you don't always get here, especially to do a full run of 22 shows. And so you can really craft your show really well. But I think I agree with Tessa, it's really important to know exactly why you're going, because it's a lot of money, and if that is your career trajectory, that you want to be an international superstar, then it's worth the investment. But if it's not, then you have to really analyse it, I think, in terms of what your goals are.
I think like Ursula Carlson's like a good example of someone who was like, right, I'm gonna do that, and she came. And the first time I ever saw Urs she was in like a tiny room downstairs, and I knew that she was already quite famous here, but just was like, right, I'm gonna just do a tiny room for this first year, and then the next year she was in double the size room, and now she plays like and gets some of the biggest numbers.
Yeah, I just saw her in
it's on
Sydney
TV all over the place.
sell out the Enmore, which
Yeah.
is like, you know, 1,000-seater, and
Yeah.
it's just stratospheric.
It's actually 1,600 seats. But
Is it?
yeah. Like
So big.
Like I just remember seeing her. She was like panicked and sweaty in this tiny room like 5 or 6 years ago. The first time that she went over, and now she's just like. But she just was, and she comes over because I think of here now as well as like, it's not that far. Like I know it's an international flight, but
Cheaper
it's
to
like
fly to here than Perth.
Perth, yeah. And I go to Perth all the time, and I shouldn't.
Well, it's cheaper to fly to Melbourne than it is to Dunedin a lot of the time as well.
Yeah. And so treat it like just come over and do, if you've got some time, like book in some gigs in Melbourne and just almost get that kind of lay of the land as well.
Yeah. So, as a producer, I want to throw this one first at you. Who do you think should be looking to go to Australia for the first time and do some of these festivals? And which ones do you think you should start with?
I think that you should look to going to Australia if your goal is to. So it's that same thing of like, it depends on what your goal is. So is it to make money? Is it to network? Is it to build your show? I think you should be going if your goal is one of those things really clearly, in short, I guess. And if your goal is Edinburgh, I think that Australia is a great place to go to first to test that and I think it's a really good place to go to practice maybe for the first time to self-produce. So just learning all those skills for yourself the first time, maybe doing a split bill, like there's lots of options there. Yeah. Does that answer that?
Yeah. So, and more specifically as well, and it's great that you brought up the split bill stuff, which we'll get to in a second, but like, so more specifically, at what stage in your career, and maybe Eli, you can speak to this as well, how many years do you think roughly should you have been doing comedy, say if you're a New Zealand comic going over for the first time?
I reckon ideally you want to have done at least one solo show, but ideally I reckon like I have a couple of good clips under your belt, like be in a position where you have the materials to market yourself, because I think if you go before you've got any of that stuff, it's just going to be so hard to win anyone over. So I would say like
ideally 3 years, like you've been doing it. You can go after 2, but it's always going to be hard the first time anyway, so it really depends how well you've progressed in New Zealand in terms of, if you've done a solo show already, or if you could peak really fast, you can't really anticipate that, but I'd say 3 years is a good.
I think opening like your first hour in a new market is not a great idea.
Yeah.
Done that before. It was detrimental to my mental health.
Rhys and Tess, what are your guys' opinions on like kicking off with a split bill or going over with even a three-person show?
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think I was also going to say, and I would say the same thing for Edinburgh. It's also great just to come over and spend a week at the festival and check it out. Like you don't have to. I would highly recommend if you can afford to do that, and you might pick up some 10-minute spots because there's a billion gigs going and everyone is looking for spots as well.
And it's making those friends in the first.
Yeah.
Sometimes you make just hanging out at the festival club or something, and you make friends, and then the next year those people are the people that help you and like.
Yeah, totally.
I think festivals are a big part of it. Obviously, is I think not just hanging out with your friends from your country.
Yeah, you need to kind of go out there and meet other artists, because that's where you. And also, I think the idea of a split bill is really great because it reduces your risk. There's 2 or 3 of you flying.
Someone to cry with.
Someone to cry with, someone to drink with, someone to celebrate with, which is really, we're both solo performers, and when you're touring, I tour 10 months of the year at the moment, and as a solo performer it can get quite lonely, so if you can go over with mates, it's great. You have a much better time. The other thing about going over first and just having a little lay of the land, or at least connecting with someone who already knows the festival really well, is really important, because especially in Melbourne, it's a very small city, but where your venue is really dependent on how successful and how much you'll get people in. So you can be, 10-minute walk from the town hall, and on a map it looks like the best location, but actually Melbourne's will be like, nah, I don't know where that is, it's miles away, because it's just this different mentality. And I think that's the same here. Like for the first year I came here, I was like not understanding like where the audiences were, kind of thing. So that's that's super useful, and that can, you know, save you thousands of dollars if you just kind of upskill on that.
Like
stuff a little
ask
bit.
people, like when your venue offers come through, all that kind of stuff, like Facebook message people, be like, is this bad? And tell them to be honest with you, because there are some absolute dead spots in Melbourne.
Yeah, and the festivals sometimes, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, the festivals want to sell certain venues as well, so they'll also have an agenda.
Let's zoom out for a second and talk about the different festivals that are on offer, which I have a list of. So we've got the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, the Sydney. Don't do that, Rhys. The Sydney Comedy Festival, Adelaide Fringe, Brisbane Comedy Festival, Sydney Fringe, Melbourne Fringe, the Perth Comedy Festival, and Perth Fringe as well. And actually, I should have done that in order because I do have the calendar here. So it goes Adelaide Fringe first, which is mid-Feb to mid-March.
Perth Fringe first.
Oh, is it?
Fringe
I've
World.
written them down wrong. Good. Tessa, you'll
So
be
it
able
goes
to correct
Fringe
me.
January?
World. Fringe World is January.
And sorry, Fringe World is Perth. Yeah.
Perth, and that goes for a month, and that overlaps with Adelaide Fringe. And I think also in between.
There's a lot of overlapping in our festivals.
In between that is Brisbane Comedy Festival, and then Adelaide Fringe, and then Melbourne Comedy Festivals after that, Sydney Comedy Festival after that. That overlaps with here.
And that overlaps with Perth Comedy Festival as well.
Yeah, and then Melbourne Fringe and Sydney Fringe are in October.
So if I am a Kiwi comedian,
And you are.
which I am, looking to go over to Australia for the first time, or maybe I've done Melbourne one year, one of those two things. Like, how should I be looking to approach this? How should I tackle this piece and think about the different festivals and which ones I should be involved with?
I think it depends on your art form. So if we're talking comedy here today, so I would say Melbourne Comedy Festival is your biggest market. Because that's very much where stand-up lives and it's just comedy. Adelaide Fringe is a bit more like Edinburgh, so there's like lots of different stuff. It's a very different landscape, so it's very much more spread out. It's a lot more expensive, it's a lot harder to get people in.
It's also, they call it Mad March, but it's because, and Adelaide is not a big city by any stretch, and they have, and I'm not exaggerating, like 7 festivals on at the same time, in the same month. And it is harrowing at times because they have like it's not like Edinburgh where, you know, all of Europe descend on Edinburgh and go to the festival. It's Adelaide. All of Adelaide, if anything, avoids the centre of the city.
Right.
Because they have like Clipsal and they have like
Writers' Festival,
Festival, and it's an amazing festival. But it's
Does that work for you or against you, or does it really depend on?
It depends on what
spin it.
how you spin it.
Yeah. I always think like with the Australian, this is just my opinion, but I think Perth. It has changed a little bit this year because there's been some stuff going on with Perth. I think you used to go to Perth to make money and kind of like have a short season, and then you go to Adelaide to really develop your work. Like that's where you go to really run in and you get so good. So Adelaide, one of the most amazing things about Adelaide Fringe, which I love, is the artist development programs they run. So one of them is Honeypot, which they bring in a whole bunch of international buyers and producers and bookers from all around England, Europe and Asia. And they are looking to buy shows or book shows for their festivals. It's not all like, you know, you won't get necessarily money from everyone. But they have all these regular networking events, and they really open up that conversation for if you want to do regional touring in Australia, which is really great. So that's really like a massive marketplace. And so you go there to develop work, to network with other artists, to have a really nice time in the sun near the beaches, and to sell your show. And then Melbourne is like a big commercial comedy festival, where you're in amongst. There's a lot more TV in Melbourne.
There's a lot more opportunities
stuff
for TV. Whereas I think Adelaide, like the festival itself, Adelaide Fringe is an incredible organisation. Like they're really about supporting artists and stuff. I think this has only been my experience. It is, I think, if you're going. That maybe do Australian festivals a couple times maybe before you go to Adelaide, maybe?
Yeah, I think because it's just really hit and miss, I think.
Yeah.
It's a really hard one, and again, it's the venue you're in. You can spend a lot of money going to Adelaide. And I think if you're doing comedy, I would just say go to Melbourne Comedy Festival.
Go to Melbourne.
Yeah. That's where you're going to launch from.
And would you guys concur with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think the best model that I've seen work really well for New Zealand comedians here for going to Melbourne, if it's stand up, is definitely to go with a split bill and then return with a solo, ideally to the, like, if your venue's good, you go the first year, you check it out. Well, actually the dream is definitely to go and visit it first, check it out, check out the venues, and then maybe you go back with a split bill and you know what venue you want to be in, but maybe don't get it, but try something else, and then you go back with a solo show, maybe get nominated for an award, maybe not, and then you just like, you build your presence there, and then from there you can go, okay, I'm going to try another festival, or you can network from there, I think. Yeah.
I think that's a really good point about the awards as well.
Yeah.
Where if you do a split bill first, then when you come back with a solo, you're then eligible for a newcomer.
Yeah.
So if you go...
Which some great Kiwi comedians have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the same thing in Edinburgh, like Sophie Hagen's a really great example. She won Best Newcomer, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and that was her 10th year in Edinburgh. Like, she'd been going to do gigs for like, just gigging for like 7 years, and then got
Had a
really,
lot of
really...
disguises.
Yeah.
And,
she finally went back, and then she just smashed it. Like, you can do that. Like, there's no rush in, like, investing all that money.
Because you came over, Eli, with fan fiction, right? The first time?
I think I came with fanfiction 3 times before I did a full solo festival, which was a great way to get to know the festival, get to know the venues. I mean, when I applied, I knew which venues I wanted to be in.
And fan fiction, for those who don't know, was quite a few people part of that show, like 6 or 7.
Yeah,
Can you give it a night? 6
or 7 of us as Kiwi comedians, and it was produced by Will Anderson, who's very famous, so it was like very taken care of, and it was like a dream way to get to know the Melbourne Festival. We still had to like stay in shitty accommodation and do our own flyering and stuff, but it still, it gave us a really good start. And we met everyone because that show had guests on it as well, which is what we do with Snort now as well in Melbourne. We get guests in, so...
Like, you guys are almost like a presence thing. Like, we call
Yeah.
you the Kiwi kids.
I know!
Yeah.
It's taken a long time, but we've really got our nails in the...
Talking about producers and stuff, what... Tessa, maybe you can speak to this with a bit of authority. Like, do you think that... Hey, Rhys, fuck you. No. Who do you think needs a producer? Does everyone need a producer going to festivals? And if not, then who does, and what benefits do they have? And then I'm going to ask a real producer who's here.
Yeah.
No one needs a producer.
Who needs a producer? I think it depends on how good at admin you are. I think if you're really good at admin and you love Excel and know how to budget and know how to look after yourself, then maybe you don't in the first year. If you are aware of what's involved in putting on a show, like if you self-produce here and you're doing that okay, then you probably don't need a producer over there. I think a lot of people kind of want a producer because it's like this cure-all, this idea that once I get a producer, I can just like rock up with my pashmina and my coffee and just do my show, which is entirely not true. Often when you get a producer, you have to work harder because suddenly someone's telling you all the things you actually have to be doing.
Yeah.
So I think if you've got a split bill, it's easier to produce together. I self-produce mostly, just because I'm a mad Excel nerd.
God.
I think that, the bulk of producing the bulk of the heavy admin is done before you go, so you can definitely do that. Like this year, I was helping Alice with her show this year for the Comedy Festival in Melbourne, and I couldn't be there for when she was actually there, and it would have been helpful to be there for sure, but it is possible to do that work remotely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's better to have one that can't get there than to possibly not have one at all.
Yeah, depending on how much of that admin on the ground you can look after yourself. And if it's the same thing, like I think the split bill model with another producer is really, with another person, that you can share the producing is really helpful, as long as it's clear what your roles are.
Also, it just depends on the producer. Like, there's also dodgy producers out there.
Yeah.
So,
Loads.
like, I've had producers that have been like, oh yeah, I'm going to produce your season, and then are not at the festival with me and have been really thrown under the bus. So, like, it really depends. Like, that's what I mean. Like, it's not like this producer's in this cure-all. Like, make sure they're, like, a nice person.
Anybody who takes, like, vast upfront costs, you'll always be a little bit like, anybody who's not... And there's also very different types of... Like, I've been very lucky that I've always been produced, but only because I don't have the brain for it. Like I know that Tessa, you have the brain for it, and you can do. I'm like, but having said that, I think it's really important that if you are produced, to be aware of how it works. Like, get your producer to sit with you in front of the Excel file and go through everything with you. So there's no point in the middle of the festival where you're like, wait, what was that money we spent on that? It's like, oh yeah, we did that, Bob. Like, some people, you might look at your budget and there's like some insane amount of money for publicity, and you know that maybe there's and I think publicity is I'm sure we'll get to that at some point as well, but is a very important part, I think, when you go into another market. But you can be creative in how you do that. Don't spend a shitload of money on print media when you know that that's not a town that has good print media. Like Melbourne, I think, is a very print media type of city, whereas Perth is not.
Yeah.
And so it's all about like Facebook ads and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, just be aware of everything that's going on, not as if the producer's trying to fuck you over, but just be aware so you're not just floating through your show.
Yeah, I think it's really common as a producer to present your budget. So it'd be like, this is what I've budgeted for the show, and then you can go through that together. And yeah, you're totally right. And also, if it's your show and it's your brand, you should be inputting into how it's being marketed. So it's really important that you're involved in that process. And then obviously in the reconciliation at the end, then you will go through all that again as well. Yeah, but I'm sure we might be talking about that more later.
I think it's good to have a producer and a publicist who are essentially going to pay for themselves. You know, if they're a good producer and a good publicist, then they will cover those costs in terms of who they bring in to see the show.
Let's drill into costs, because I know that as a performer going over, like that's the number one question I had at the beginning and still often have. I feel like it's a little bit how long is a piece of string, but let's talk about how expensive it can be going to a festival. And Eli, do you maybe want to kick off speaking to this about what sort of cost people can anticipate and some rough figures of
exact numbers
people might need to spend?
I lost.
Well, look, if you've got a delightful anecdote of bankruptcy in your first year going to Melbourne or something, please let us know.
I've done okay whenever I've gone, but it's been helped because fan fiction and Snort also help provide a subsidy when I've done solo shows alongside those shows. I will say that for the last year, and it would have been the same, I went to Melbourne and then went to Sydney to do 2 shows, and my reconciliations was the same amount of money for my
And
2
how many nights in Melbourne?
19, so many. So for me, Melbourne it's definitely, I wouldn't go there thinking I'm gonna make my money back.
Would you agree with that,
First
Rhys?
time.
Well, I guess it's a different proposition. But as in, that my costs are a lot lower because I live in the country and I'm not Edinburgh. Is a huge amount of what am I trying to say? Just by the fact that I'm flying over already knocks out a bunch of cash and all that kind of stuff, and a comm knocks out a bunch of cash and stuff. Whereas I feel like as an Australian you can find kind of, I can sleep on a friend's couch, which is possible to do as an international as well, but it's easier to kind of negotiate. So the costs are down in that. Would you agree with that, do you think?
Yeah, totally. I think as a super ballpark figure, it's generally about 5K to do a festival, like a full month festival. And that's including, your comm and being there and your venue rental and your printing and your Facebook ads and all that kind of stuff. I would say always, when you're doing your budget, I think what a lot of sort of fresh comedians fall down in is that they're putting a lot of money into ads and print marketing and all that sort of stuff. It is a word of mouth festival, Melbourne as well, often these ones are. So just sort of be really clear about or be kind of aware of where you sit and then market and spend your money.
I also think, say, Melbourne is a place where, I say Adelaide and Melbourne are 2 festivals where, don't spend money on advertising. And this might be wrong, I should probably talk to you as a producer about this, but Melbourne is somewhere that you should spend money on, a good flyer.
Yeah.
It's so weird that it shouldn't still be this way. Not shouldn't, but it's weird that flyering still works.
Yeah. Tessa, can you, just briefly run through that 5K as well and just the...
Oh yeah, so the 5K breakdown was that includes your flights and your comm, your venue hire, your printing of posters and flyers, and your flyering team. Yeah, so that kind of... That's a good kind of ballpark-ish.
I would say that it's a bit more for coming from New Zealand, because it's really variable based on your venue. So you could pay $6,000 for a full run in a 40-seater, $5,000 to $6,000 just for your venue, and so it really depends on where you're performing. And then obviously depends on accommodation, and if you get your shit together, you can save money on flights and accommodation, because that's where a lot of costs that you maybe haven't anticipated could be really high.
Yeah, that's true.
I reckon getting someone to help you with flying is really key as well, because
how much can you expect to pay for that?
It depends on the flyer, but how you're paying them. I would say $20-$25 an hour
Yeah,
is
it's
pretty
a standard.
standard.
Or 10 quid in
Yeah.
Edinburgh's the
Which
main
is like that's like one ticket sale an hour as well.
Yes,
to pay it back, so it's
and-
not
Yeah.
crazy.
In Melbourne especially, flyering really works, and if your flyer is good and they know your show and they have seen it,
Yeah, make sure they see it.
yeah,
That's
and,
a big issue.
and it's also like it's a time versus money thing. You know, if you need that time to work on your show and it is detrimental to your mental health to be flyering constantly and being rejected a lot of the time, then it's worth it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that like my first few times I stayed in accommodation where I was like sharing beds and doing all my flyering myself.
Oh, right.
And that's like, woohoo, it's fun for a while. It's the
Yeah.
festival experience, but there are some days where you just can't do it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how well. This is a terrible. No, like festivals are great, but it doesn't matter how well you're going. At a certain point, you will have a moment of going, "What the fuck am I doing?"
Yeah, absolutely. Every single time.
Every single time.
No matter how far into your career you
No
are.
matter how far. Like, guys, it's never gonna stop feeling bad.
There's several toilets in Melbourne that I'm like, oh, that's the crying toilet.
Yeah.
That's where
I
I
think-
for a cry.
I do it in the shower because you don't know what's tears and what's water.
I think that's a really good point. I don't know if we're going to touch on fatigue, but like that can be a really important time for a producer to really be helpful, because that's the moment that you can be really objective and just say, you know, like that you can bring it back to your goals of like, why are you here? Because if you've got two people in your audience and you're like, fuck, I don't want to do my show tonight, then you need to remember like what your purpose is there, because if maybe your purpose is to literally do your show every night for an hour and craft your show for New Zealand, and it's in those moments that it's really helpful to have another person there to be like, hey, don't forget, like that doesn't matter, or yeah, just hang in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dig into this for a few minutes then.
Yeah.
Acknowledging the fact that everyone at some point at every festival will fall down and question their very existence as a comedian. What are some good strategies to bring into a festival then to try and make sure you live out the other side of it?
I always just make sure I have like a routine, like and this sounds really simple, but like look after yourself. Like I think there's this like my first two Melbournes, I just obliterated myself every night because it's like it's the festival and we're all going to go to the festival club and blah blah blah, and you don't have to do that every night. I don't know, is that
Yeah.
because you're going to have the
No
same
one can
conversation
party for that long.
No.
And
No
put
one
on
should
good
party
shows.
for that long.
You
and
can,
you can,
but your shows would be
And
terrible.
a hungover show is like a funny idea, but it's not adorable for 22 times in a row.
That's true.
And people love that. I think people really romanticize that idea as well of going like, yeah, like I was so, you know, I got home at 4 a.m. last night and then I had like to do a kids show the next day. And it's like, so crazy. It's like, no, stop. This is your job. Like, stop doing that.
Yeah.
It's not, this isn't like a party. This is a job.
I reckon use your days off as well.
Yeah.
You only get a few, and go somewhere out of the city, because you can feel really like, fuck, I've been between these 4 avenues my entire life. Yeah. So we went on a steam train one year, out to the beach, just something to like mentally take a break from it.
Yeah, I think getting sleep is a massive one for me. Like having, not sharing a bed or not being on a couch for a full month, because it's just like you need somewhere where you can close the door and just kind of be a bit of a mess, or just rest, like just not talk to someone. I think that's one of the hardest things, especially like with social media and stuff. You always, when you're in the festival landscape, you're like, oh, it's going great, everyone's coming, oh my god, it's so much fun, yes, of course it's going great, I'm having a great time, yes, oh my god, everyone loves it, the reviews are amazing. When inside you're like, I'm crying, who am I as a person?
And don't fall into FOMO every night. Like you're gonna have the same 4 conversations with the same 10 people
Exactly.
every night.
It's
And
Groundhog Day. It's the same blue light disco every night at the
someone's
festival
gonna,
club.
how are your numbers? You're having a good time.
Yeah.
I've read your review. Oh, you're not reading a review. Like it's just the same thing over and over and over again.
I think it's quite good also to have someone that you can have a whinge to that's not then that's not going to be detrimental to your season. Like it's really good to have mates that you can be like, actually, I'm not okay today. And is it okay if we just sit and watch Netflix and order?
Yeah.
Go to the movies. Go to a thing that
Yeah.
watch a Holocaust documentary on Netflix. Like No, but I mean, that was a full other thing to say. But I mean it like watch anything other
Perspective,
than
yeah, and-
comedy. That's not what.
I think also plan ahead, like obviously I haven't performed in a comedy festival before, but based on observation, like plan ahead and don't commit to doing other work while you're there. So if you have a day job at home, like don't be over there and be like, oh fuck, I have to get up at 9 and do my work in New Zealand, like, and they've been up for 2 hours already, like, because you'll just destroy yourself. Like you are actually so exhausted. Like to paint a picture, it's like, yeah, you're sharing a bed, you wake up, you go flyering, you do your show, you go to 2 other shows, like you go out for a drink. It's like, it is exhausting and you do have to look after yourself or you'll burn out. Like,
And you're there to do the festival as well. Like it's very tempting to be like, oh, I'll do some work from overseas, but yeah, it's too hard.
This is a weird specific one as well from me, but this year I bought a big pack of multivitamins, and I reckon it's the thing that stopped me getting a cold.
Get a flu shot.
Yeah, get a flu shot, eat lots of fruit, drink
definitely exercise, yeah.
drink so much water. Drink more water than you think you should.
I
Eat
always.
a piece of fruit.
Yeah.
This is a thing I do. I know that we're talking about Australian festivals, but a thing that I do, and it gets me through Melbourne as well, is find a tiny, because the rest of your day is so the opposite of luxury. Like you're working really hard and then you do your show, and it's like trying to find, like in Edinburgh, I joined. There's this place, or they're closed now, but they used to be called. There's a place called the Scotsman where it has like a sauna and a steam room and a pool, and I just would go for a swim every day, and it was cheap, and it just washed away the festival every day. But do you know what I mean? Like it's just, it sounds really simple, but just have a thing that is only you're doing this and no one else is asking me about my numbers and no one is telling me how to do my show.
And you can, there's lots of, because you're in a different country, I've done several yoga trials.
Sneaky.
2-week trials.
That's so good.
Yeah, I'm going to stay here. That's a great idea.
yeah.
A big important question, particularly for people going the first time, is around marketing. And it's a constantly changing beast, particularly because of the internet and social media and stuff. What do all four of you think works now? And in particular for people going over for like the first time maybe from New Zealand. So let's say we've got an artist who's performed in 2 or 3 years of shows here. They're going over to Melbourne for their first year. What are some good strategies? And speak to the other festivals as well. We should be putting your resources and money and time.
I think having clips is really good. That's like there's a
Good
whole
ones, high quality ones.
Yeah, high quality clips that you then put on your listing in Melbourne Comedy Festival. There's they did some stats last year about the number of tickets sold for people that had videos on their listing and didn't, and it was like out of control. So that would be one thing.
And like high quality ones. Get a friend with a good camera, and not like of you doing that new 5 on someone's grainy iPhone. Like do one with like a couple angles if you can, of you doing your best 5, even if it's old stuff, and that's the stuff that maybe isn't in the show. I don't know.
Yeah.
And use them to sell on like Facebook ads as well. They really are a big one. But I think it's a simple. I'm a big believer in like a strong image on your poster, like something that really paints what you are, not like a super crazy busy. I don't know. This is only what I do with my posters, but like a lot of negative space, because you're on a wall of posters. The town hall in Melbourne is covered in posters, and they're all. A lot of them are kind of like, look at all these stars I've got, and like blah 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 blah. But if you're like a kind of if you can do a vaguely different image, like you've always had incredibly like quite strong images, I think. No, you have. That's all right.
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
the
And
one
actually
compliment you're getting.
It's really good to put money into a good photo shoot like
Yes.
that. Like if like that will pay off. Like I've not had a publicist before, but I've had really, really strong images, and that then gets me into print articles, and getting in touch with the festival publicity team as well is really great, and just getting there, making sure they know that you've got really great images, and give them a bit of a rundown, to go take them like a bottle of whiskey at the beginning of the festival.
That is a big
and
one.
some chockies and stuff, and the ticketing and box office team as well. Like make sure the box office teams know your show and they've seen the clip, because they are the ones, like I've had mates in the box office, or like people who've seen my show and love my work, and that's why I'm selling really, really well, because people literally just come into the box office and be like, I have money, what should I see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like some of my best friends in the festival now, I think you're the same, like we go and hang out in the ticketing office in between shows and stuff, because they're like, they also know all the best gossip as well.
Yeah.
But it is, take a bottle of whiskey, meet people, become their friends, and then they become your friends, but then they're also helping you. They want to help you then.
Right. Eli and Sophie, for the more sort of traditional spendy stuff, what do you think people should be focusing on now? Should people be throwing money into street posters, flyers, online ads?
I would say that I just sold out my Sydney shows before I went just through Facebook marketing. I think it was like, thank you. In a 40-seat room, there was 2 shows. But like, I think right now, that's the marketing that's paying off a lot. And I think it's probably about to implode on itself. But, maybe for the next few times, Facebook advertising is really, and that's why getting a good clip. And I'd say, it's not that expensive to find someone who will film your solo show here, where you're performing in front of your home crowd, where you look great, and then I filmed my whole show last year, and that's how I got some good stuff for Edinburgh this year. It was just being like, I filmed it, here it is, look at it.
And get a professional graphic designer or a professional photo. We've all got mad Photoshop skills, but it's one of my pet hates is to look at like a bunch of posters and like just the kerning isn't quite right or something. It's like, oh, I wish someone that studied had have done this, because it automatically makes you go, this person hasn't put work into their poster. Why would they put work in their show?
Yeah. I think social media obviously is massive for comedians, and that's where they build their brand a lot of the time, and so that's always a really good place to start. I think the clips thing is so true, and among meeting everyone at the festival, like clips is how you'll get onto lineup shows when you have never been seen before, and that could make or break you getting onto a slot in the festival club, and that could make or break your ticket sales for the season. It's kind of as simple as that. And it's also as simple as reading every email. Melbourne Comedy Festival, especially, all the festivals have got such amazing resources, and if you read every email and replied to every email, if you're self-producing, then there's so many opportunities. Actually, it's really, it's kind of that straightforward. Like there's every year Melbourne sends out, it's like a Google Doc, and it's like, these are all the people who are interested in spots. And I remember one year my name, I like put mine in straight away, and it was like top of the list with who I was producing. And it was like, I was shocked. I was like, why are people not putting their names on here? This is literally a list of people who want to do lineup shows, and for people who have lineup shows to recruit from. It is that simple in a lot of ways.
And they want to help. The festival, Melbourne Comedy Festival,
they need you.
Everybody that works there, it's like, I would say the majority of Melbourne Comedy Festival are like a group of like awesome, like incredible, funny
They're
women.
so responsive, and they run that festival so tightly, and they know you, like they know your name, and that relationship is so important.
I think we are products of that in a weird way. Do you know what I
Absolutely,
mean?
yeah.
Like you and I are two people who have been going for years and started at the bottom. Now we're here. But yeah, just did all the shitty gigs and just slowly worked our way up, and then get on like kind of gallery shows and stuff like that, because they want to support you. I think Melbourne, more than any other festival, I think, and Adelaide as well, like there's this, they will latch on to artists sometimes.
They love to see
and they
you
just
develop.
go, we want to help
kids.
you. Yeah.
Let's do some vaguely rapid fire questions, because we've got a few other things I'd love for us to cover while we've got time. Tess, can you talk about the difference between Australian audiences and New Zealand audiences?
I would say Australian audiences are really different in every state. From my experience here, like Melbourne is quite sort of that's a very comedy educated crowd.
Scarves
they can
and
be
lattes.
a little bit, it's all, they can be a little bit intellectual. They can like take a little bit longer. They can sit back a little bit. Adelaide are pretty rowdy, but also kind of quite conservative as well. Like there's a really weird like mix of kind of bogan and real like churchy conservative people, which can really kick off sometimes. Perth is pretty wild as well. And Perth is like rapidly changing city. Like the economy there is rapidly changing. So that festival is quite tumultuous at the moment as well. Auckland, you guys are just rowdy as, and I love it. Wellington, I feel like, you guys know Wellington. I don't know why I'm talking about Wellington, but you guys know.
I'm
Wellington,
keen to hear your perspective.
Yeah, I would say Wellington was like a little bit like Melbourne, like a little bit more conservative, but still really up for playing and being silly and stuff, like much more ready to be silly.
I think they appreciate things slightly
They
quieter.
Yeah.
Might just be me.
Yeah, that's it. But I think they're kind of still, they're that kind of that intellectual kind of thing that Melbourne has as well.
I think you're right about, they are, each festival is very different. Like you can really, it's the emotions of your year are the emotions of the festivals. Like Adelaide is just kind of like, oh god, you're like trying to like negotiate the whole festival, and then Melbourne is kind of just like
focus
and kind of just get it right and get it right. Whereas Brisbane, strangely, is Brisbane comedy. Have you done Brisbane comedy festival? The festival is quite different to the city.
Yeah, I would agree.
I would like, or Brisbane. I like Brisbane very much, but there's kind of this kind of idea of Brisbane that they're very kind of football orientated. And
I'm a Queenslander. It's like total bogan central.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
But the festival's not like
But
that.
The festival is like an arts festival.
Yeah.
It's in this place called the Powerhouse. It's probably one of my favourite festivals, but it's early on in the run, and I always feel bad because the show is never none of our shows are quite ready yet. Like they're pretty much there, but it's just a venue full of people going like, well, that was about 85. Thanks for coming, guys. Bye. But the festival itself is really they're supportive to a lot of people, I think, and it's the only festival where you have like your own dressing room and like it's shiny rooms and the bar is nice.
They give you a bottle of wine when you
get a bottle of wine.
God,
it's nice.
That might be why the show isn't very good because I'm just tanked.
Rhys, can you tell us about roadshows?
Yes.
What are they? Who should do them? How do you try and put yourself forward for them?
I will put myself as the answer to all of them. I've done a lot of... So Melbourne Comedy Festival do a roadshow where... You've done roadshow. You've done a bunch of roadshow. I think we've both done... I've done a lot of roadshow. What are they? They're like... So the Comedy Festival kind of picks... And there's kind of 3 going at once all around the country where there's... like 4 or 5 comedians in a van doing kind of regional areas, and the whole idea of it is to bring the comedy festival to those places, like those different like I grew up in Newcastle, which isn't like a tiny town, but it's a regional area, and that was like a big part of the year was when the comedy festival came to the Civic Theatre, and you could see like back in the day it would be like Stephen K. Amos and like these kind of big comics. And they're great. Like they're a good little money spinner after and it's the same thing, flying hours. Like you're doing, it's always a return. Comedians and I always talk about like, you've just been in this harrowing, but also at times quite blissful little bubble of festival. And then suddenly you're in Karratha and like talking to a bunch of miners about marriage equality. And, but like I've done and you do kind of like, you can do a week or you can do like, I'm only doing a week this year, but I've also done, one time I did 7 weeks just around Western Australia as other comics kind of hop on and hop off the tour, but it was just me and this other comedian just the whole time. And you're staying in motor inns, but I really enjoy it because there's a lot of driving, but also like you wake up, the tour manager says, everyone get in the van, we're going here today. Then we sound check, then you do the show, then you hang out, then you go to bed, blah, blah. Like it's this kind of the exact same routine every day. And you wake up knowing exactly what's going to happen. It's not a loosey-goosey kind of tour. It's like very managed and it's very Melbourne Comedy Festival. It's really fun. Although like any touring situation takes one rotten apple.
Who was it?
Yeah. Oh, I can give you 6. No, but it's a really, I think it's also, it's another one of those institutions of Melbourne comedy. I think there's these things in Melbourne Comedy Festival. There's Raw Comedy, or Class Clowns, Raw Comedy, Comedy Zone, Roadshow, and the Gala. Do you know what I mean? These kind of like, there's these kind of milestones.
Yeah.
And I think Roadshow is one of them where they trust you. Bridget Bantic, who is one of the tour managers for it and is one of the main producers of the Comedy Festival, she always says they also think of it as education. So she will put someone like me or David Quirk, who are kind of not necessarily, who we are not necessarily outback Australia.
Yeah.
And like not you go like, this is what this farmer wants to look at. Rhys Nicholson with an inch of makeup on and a suit. But it is that kind of like, no, it's not just the gala. This is what comedy is in this country, blah, blah, blah. Did that kind of explain what it,
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that it's also same thing. You don't ask, you don't get. Like Guy Montgomery got on the roadshow really early on in his Melbourne trips, and that was literally because I just emailed Bridget and was like, "This is Guy Montgomery. Here's a clip of him," and she was like, "Yeah, sure." Like if you get in early, those opportunities are available to everyone, which is great.
The tour managers say like Bridget, Gideon, Kylie sometimes. They're the producers for the festival as well. So if and they're seeing you every night,
and then they're on tour. So
they see you as I also think it comes under those rules of don't be a dick.
Yeah.
If you're a dick on Roadshow, you're first of all not going to be booked again, and also they're going to think twice about booking you for things during comedy festival because they realise you're a dodgy person to hang out with.
Yeah. All that stuff counts for everything, like the way that you present yourself to, it's a professional environment, you're working, so that
do your
stuff,
time.
Yeah. No, it all feeds in.
I think that's a great example of how to get on those lineups. Like there's often like this big sort of I know, like mystery around, how do you get on lineup shows? How do you get in the hi-fi? How do I crack into, like at some point they'll just ask me, like there'll be a moment, someone will come and see me in secret and then I'll be asked. Yeah. And it's just not true. Like just ask,
just
like have a good clip and like just, because even if they say no, like you're just on their radar and then they'll keep an eye on you. And then when they do think they can sell you or they want to send you out to this thing, then you will get the work.
Because we're running out of time before you guys need to fly away, let's take some questions from the crowd and I'll just repeat them into the mic. So who's got some questions for these fine, intelligent folk? And if not, we can talk about other stuff, so that's fine. But has anyone got any questions at this stage? Would you recommend doing a full run to kick off with? And Eli, do you want to speak to this? Or is it better to maybe do, because the full run is 4 weeks in Melbourne, for example?
4 weeks, and you can do a 2-week run. And you can do the 2-week run and still be eligible for the newcomer award. So yeah, I think you're fine to do if it's all you can manage, the 2 weeks is still great.
Do you think that's a good idea to kind of maybe manage costs as well if you don't have a ton of money to blow doing a 4-week run?
Yes, definitely, because obviously you'll save on accommodation and time, although the venue cost is a little bit higher for a 2-week than it is for a 4-week.
Maybe while we're on this, we should briefly talk about the difference between festival managed venues and independent venues, because there is a difference within festivals. So for example, when I go to Melbourne, I've always done it at an independent venue, one in Collingwood, and it lowers all of my costs for my whole like trip by so much. And I can just go over there and sort of couch surf a little bit because I've got mates and things. But
we get it, mate.
Do you guys want to talk about like roughly how much you can expect to spend for festival managed venues and what that can add to your experience? And Sophie, you'll be an authority on this as well.
I'm personally very pro festival managed venues. I think that it depends entirely on what kind of comedy you do. So it really depends on that. But you get a lot more support if you're in a festival managed venue, but it's quite a full-on process to get into one. So you do a full application to get into a festival managed venue, and then you get in or you don't, and you're never guaranteed. So like there are many people who have been in festival managed venues for previous years and then this year didn't get into one, and so that's where you really have to be, you can't assume anything, and you have to have done your research already to get into an independent venue at that time. But it is expensive as well. So like, Guy was in a 40-seater for the full run. It was like $5 or $6 grand. So it's a lot of money. He was in the Forum though, so that's a great venue. But you do get a lot more support, and the festival will be pushing you a little bit more, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I found it really interesting because I was really scared of going into FMV, like festival managed venues, or bigger venues like, say, for in Adelaide in the Garden. Because I sort of started out in places like the Tuxedo Cat and like kind of really independent. So like you're getting in there and you're helping to build the walls kind of venues, and the venue hire is super cheap. But I found as soon as I moved to those bigger venues, then I was making more money, because it's just you get more support. You're seen a bit differently in like where you stand. There's more trust there. The audiences are just more aware of it because there's a huge marketing thing around where those venues are. If you're in the town hall or the Forum or something like the foot traffic is unbelievable. So don't be scared off. I think it's definitely more expensive, but I would make more money in those than if I was in a different one.
I think you pay for what you get. Like it is expensive, and there's a lot of talk, like festivals are an expensive thing, but you're not having, you get a tech, and usually they are a good tech. They are a professional tech, and so you're not kind of having to put up, it's just what we were talking about with flyers and stuff, you're not putting up with this daily barrage of problems that and I've done independent as well, and I still I think independent is, if that's what you want to do, it's absolutely the way to go, and it makes sense for some people. It just doesn't for me. If I get there and like, sorry, the lights aren't working today.
Or there was
you didn't pay for them, I guess.
Yeah, there's one. I mean, there's lots of really brilliant independent venues around, but there's one. There was a New Zealand comedian came over to Oz about 4 years ago and to an independent venue, and there was just a real schmozzle with their programming, and she turned up and she ended up having to do her show like in the bar. Like,
Right.
So she paid a venue hire, and they were still charging her venue hire, and she was just playing in the general bar area.
And that's not typical, but that is
No,
the sort of
but
thing
that's the
that
thing you
is
need to, yeah.
on.
And
Yeah, exactly. And that's not like
it's a
either or,
potential.
but, you know.
Yeah.
There's been stories over the years as well of like there was one of the independent ones on the first night of the festival. They hadn't like the OHS hadn't been properly done, and the whole venue was shut down for the first 2 nights of the festival. So like
It's a little bit
50
more cowboy,
performers.
and sure.
Yeah.
Those independent ones, you can make it work for you if you know what you're doing, but it's a little bit more cowboy.
I reckon it makes a huge difference with flying as well. If you can be like, this is in the Forum, it's just around the corner, as opposed
True.
to this is in this random venue.
Collingwood.
Go down these 3 streets.
Yeah.
Although Collingwood was good for you, right? Because it's
Yeah.
far away from the hub. So
Well, I
you've got
kind of
a
treat it
hub.
completely differently, where it's like another hub. So I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
fly on the streets of Collingwood to get those people coming in. Let's talk about awards. There's lots of them.
Finally.
And the benefit of awards, even to get a nomination, is going to boost your ticket sales for every other show. You can put the ferns on there and what you got nommed for. Rhys, you speak to some of the awards, the like more prominent ones that are on offer, and who can sort of expect to be nominated at what stages? And so there's too broad. Let's start with Melbourne. Melbourne's probably the biggest festival that we're thinking of in our brain. So what can you possibly get nominated for in Melbourne?
There is Best Newcomer, which is pretty self-explanatory, but there are kind of strange, not strange rules, but you can do a group show and then come back and be nominated for that.
You're eligible for your first solo show.
Or your first, like I've done Melbourne Comedy Festival for nearly 10 years, and I got nominated last year for Best Newcomer because I had a cabaret show with 2 other people, so it was a brand new act.
Yes.
So it's got to be a brand new act or solo.
A whole, like a different proposition.
brand, yeah.
There's that. There is the Golden Gibbo, which is like that's for independent shows, and it's named after Linda Gibson, who is this like amazing and insane comedian. And it's just for best show amongst
It's the best independently produced. So you can't be managed. You can't be have a big producer. It can't have had more than like 1 season. It has to have only been in existence for that year. So it's about new work, and it's about work that kind of pushes the boundary of comedy and is different and is kind of.
It's essentially you've given this a go,
right?
No, but you know what I mean? Like that kind of like you've had no help and you've pulled this off, and it's incredible. And quite often, like there's been years where like the Barry, which is the best show, has also been it's happened a few times where the Gibbo has also been a Barry, which is like Zoe Kimsma did that. But what is that? Is that the 3? What are
And then
the
there's
other
the Director's Choice.
Director's Choice, which is kind of
which is Susan
Prover just going,
I want this one.
I liked this.
And now they have 2 more. They have the Piece of Wood, which is the Comedians Award, so it's
Comedian's
Comedian's Choice. And there's also the
Pinder.
Pinder. Did you get that?
No.
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 Sorry about that. And that's about taking a show to Edinburgh. And the other thing I'll say about the Best Newcomer is that is decided by, there's a panel of judges, but it's mainly decided by Soho Theatre in London, because the winning act goes to Soho Theatre and gets a season. So if you can also lobby them, that's helpful.
Sophie, how do you apply for these awards, if that's a thing? If you know, do you know?
You can put your name forward for some of them, I think, but you are eligible or not based on criteria, and you can choose to be eligible or not. You can choose to be whatever, what's the word I'm looking for? In the running for them as well. So you can opt out as well.
Like the Barry, you have to have done 10 shows. I think 12. You have to do 12 shows within the run.
Yeah.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah, I was just like,
Really?
10 years, yeah.
You have to have done 10 shows. So, for example, Anne Evans was nominated this year, and she was meant to be taking a year off and was doing this late night show that became like the talk of the festival. And her agents very cleverly added 5 more shows to put it over because it was just a weekend late night show. I think, obviously, like all awards, they create buzz. But I think it's possible, then I think people write shows for awards and people just write shows. And I've been nominated for the Barry once, and it was the year that I was like, I'm just going to just write whatever show I want to write.
Yeah.
And so, but it also meant that when I was nominated, I was like, oh, how do I recreate this now?
So I'm tacitly taking from that you maybe shouldn't think about them too much.
Yeah,
Like you should be
they're
trying
not
to just
even-
do the best show.
Some people
Totally,
talk about them
yeah.
constantly,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and that's those
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Groundhog Day conversations
Yeah.
where it's like, who do you think is going to be nominated? It's like, I don't know. Go to the awards morning to drink a mimosa
Yeah.
and eat free food. It's the best.
It's already competing for an award for one award in comedy in any art form is already like a whole other thing. So you should just focus on doing a good show, I think. But it will definitely boost your ticket sales in Melbourne if you
Yes.
get nominated, like hugely.
It's a big. I feel like it's a big break for New Zealander to get it because the Australians that get nominated have done Comedy Zone and things like that, so they've been building buzz for a while.
Well,
With
this
your
is the
coming
thing
cold.
because
Oh,
Rose Matafeo and
Yes.
Guy Montgomery went and did a split bill first in Melbourne, which then made them both eligible for Best Newcomer come the next year when they did their solos, which was quite a smart thing. So there are
Yeah.
little things to consider as well, like that, where
Totally.
you can kind of use it to your advantage. To sort of round off, if we could go around the table and just we sort of did this before a little bit, but like 2 tips for going to festivals and having a good time. And I'll kick off to buy you guys time. In addition to eating vitamins and drinking too much water, I would say get in touch with your family. Call them when you're at the festival because they are not involved in your careers, hopefully.
and they don't care really.
They don't care. You can offload to them a bit. And I know Tessa said it, but try and get as much sleep as you possibly can.
I would say have fun. Like, remember that you're there to enjoy yourself, because I know we've talked a lot about things that are like, it's really hard, you'll get bogged down, but really have fun. It is the best time ever. You're never in that environment. It's really like you're in a festival bubble, and I think you just have to lap it up. And then, what else do I say? Save money before you go so that you're not stressed about that when you're there. Yeah.
I'd say if you're going to do Melbourne, definitely do Sydney too, because it's just like an extra little thing to take on at the end. And I think the crowds are really friendly and nice, and it's like smaller and easier and fun. And also, just the first time you go, to see as many shows as you possibly can. When I went with Fan Fiction, I would just see 3 shows every night, and it's amazing because the market is so much bigger. You get to see so many more voices. It's exciting. It's fun.
Not everyone will know this, mayhaps, but you get a pass that entitles you to go to any non-sold out show that's in the festival. It is like will go to Melbourne every year just to get that pass.
Yeah, it's like
I'll
you're
bring a
getting
show just to go
thousands
to
of
the shows.
dollars in
Yeah.
terms of seeing free shows.
I would say definitely like have 3 key goals that you want to get out of the season and know why you're going. And talk to someone who's done it before and get some advice. Like just buy someone a coffee and just say, how do I do it and what should I look out for?
The stay healthy thing, stay regular.
Metamucil.
Metamucil. Actually, weirdly, that is a good tip because you don't feel sick all the time. And this sounds really weird, but like, don't just treat the staff well. Like, it's so simple, and you see people doing it, like just being rude to their text during sound check and all that kind of stuff, and learn their name and hang out with them, buy them a drink. Yeah, buy them a present at the end. Even if I used to do a thing where, because the first few years when I didn't have much money, I'd go to a discount store and buy a shitload of things, and I'd make them a card, and then all the staff could like pick it, and it would just be things like ball bearings.
That
But
is
like,
adorable.
but it meant it put everyone on the same playing field.
I love it. And everyone got something.
Everyone
from
got
you.
something shit. But yeah, just be not, and don't like, I don't know. Yeah, like we were saying earlier, have someone that you can unload to, but also don't be constantly talking about how shit this festival is. You know what I mean? Like, there's always this one person sitting at the bar that are clearly having a bad time, but support that person, but also don't let their
energy
kind of
drag you.
drag you down, and vice versa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't be that energy.
Don't be that energy.
Be the energy you want to see in the world.
Wow, I
Goes
hope
down
that's
this
not the
end.
end.
Does anyone have any burning questions before we round off and thank these fine folk for their time? Good shout.
The comedy. The Melbourne Comedy Festival website is really purpose built for performers as well. They have their resource side of the website. I
Same with
stumbled upon
Adelaide
it
as well.
accidentally once, and was like, "Why haven't I been looking at this for years?" Like, it's got everyone's number. It's not that some festivals are very kind of like, "We're never going to tell you who this producer is," and blah blah blah. But their emails there. Like,
And they've podcasts and stuff. They literally put out podcasts being like, here's a podcast on marketing your show. And
Yeah.
there's so many resources.
Actually,
It's
if you go to the
amazing.
Melbourne Fringe resources section, as well as the Adelaide Fringe artist resources section, they have these amazing PDF docs that like how to market your show, how to do social media, how to do a budget. Like they're incredible. Like even if you're not doing that festival, you can use them for anything. Like they're almost like producer how-tos. Can I also add a little bit of information about the Moosehead Award as well?
Yes.
So the Moosehead Award is this thing that happens in Melbourne every year, and it opens in I think around October or September, and it's a development grant, and you get 10 grand of support to develop a show. It's got to be a brand new show. I'm pretty sure it's eligible for internationals.
Yeah, I'm pretty
I'm going to
sure.
say I'm going to tell you about it anyway because I can't remember if it is or not. But yeah, you get a producer, you get a PR. They sort of front your venue. You get printing. You get a director, and it's about developing new work. It's about leveling up in your career, and it's about pushing what comedy can be. So if you've got an idea that's like a little bit off the wall and like it's not just straight stand up, or it's taking straight stand up to a new place, then definitely check out that Moosehead Award as well.
it's kind of, and this is a really brutal way to explain it, but like, it's for a show that its first time probably wouldn't be able to make money if we didn't do. Does that
Totally,
sound solid up? Like, you know what I mean? It's like Tom Ballard has done like a comedy lecture about the fact that he called it a comedy lecture as well. A comedy lecture about like asylum seekers, and that show was never, unless it had the support, that was never gonna. Yeah. I think Wes and Kate
Wes and-
McClellan did a bed show once.
Yeah, like a hotel room kind of show. I got it for Fringe Wives Club. That's how we
That's
kind of
correct.
we made that show. So we kind of with 3 individual artists had never worked with before. So we were kind of pushing our practice, combining our talents, and then
It's a jump start.
yeah, it's a real jump start, and it leveled us up so much. Like it
Awesome.
it opened so many doors, gives you tons of industry recognition, loads of press. Yeah, it's a really great way to kind of push yourself.
To conclude, I do just want to echo what Sophie said. Festivals are the best damn time you will have in your life. They're so much fun. We always focus on the stuff that goes wrong and the pitfalls and what to avoid, but oh my God, they're such sensational fun. There is nothing
It's Christmas.
like it. It really
It's comedy
is.
Christmas.
So thank you very much to our panelists. A round of applause for letting us pick your brains. Thank you again so much to the Australian High Commission for supporting this, and the New Zealand Comedy Trust for putting all the pieces together. And just jump online and investigate these festivals. They, at a minimum, all have a contact email. So if they don't have the information front-facing on their website, get in touch with them. Put yourself in front of these people so they get to know you. And let's make some comedy, everyone. Thanks very much.
Round of
Cheers.
applause for Tim Batt, ladies and gentlemen.